Eliminating water poverty goes beyond just quenching someone's thirst. It also eliminates many inequalities that millions of Indians face today. It eliminates gender inequality. With clean water, we empower women to rise above becoming water wives. It eliminates corruption and economic predators. With access to wells in communities, water mafias are put out of business. It eliminates economic hardship in rural communities. With access to irrigation water, farmers can support themselves and their families. It eliminates political unrest. With access to the most basic human need, we create a more harmonious society. What starts with a drop of water ripples outward, promoting solutions for gender inequality, economic mobility, civic pride, and climate change. When you eliminate water poverty, you create a better India.
Namaste and welcome to OVBI's 9th session of our Water Life series on how social entrepreneurship can amplify the impact of our on-ground efforts. For example, to improve water utilization, crop yields, and to provide economic benefits to farmers. My name is Manu Nambudiri and I'm here to welcome you to today's session on behalf of the entire OVBI community of volunteers and partners. We're very excited to have this wonderful conversation between Ruchit Garg, the founder of an exciting social entrepreneurship company called Harvesting, and Piyush Malik, SVP of Spring ML. Let me quickly introduce them both before I hand over the session to Piyush to facilitate today's conversation. Ruchit is founder and CEO of Harvesting, a company focused on enabling financial inclusion for farmers in the emerging world and building an agricultural intelligence engine to forecast crop yield and beyond. Prior to Harvesting, Ruchit was founder and CEO of 9 Slides, an online learning company for growing businesses, which was acquired by Limeade in 2015. Prior to that, Ruchit worked for Microsoft at its headquarters in Redmond, Washington, and in Hyderabad for several years, and contributed to many key projects such as Xbox Live, Windows 7, MSN Games, etc. Prior to Microsoft, Ruchit started 2 companies and also helped build the first commercial text-to-speech system for Hindi. Ruchit has been featured in the New York Times, Times of India, TechCrunch, International Agricultural Journal, and others for his social entrepreneurship work. Ruchit also received the President Award from the President of India for his community service as a young scout. For Harvesting, Ruchit has recently won the Global Grand Challenge Award from Singularity University. Conversing with Ruchit is Piyush Malik, the SVP from Spring ML. Piyush Malik is a startup executive, entrepreneur, board advisor, and business transformation practitioner in the domain of emerging technologies. As Senior Vice President at Spring ML, a Google partner startup that builds AI, ML, IoT, and data science solutions to help enterprises accelerate their journey towards AI-first and cloud-first digital transformation. Formerly, he co-founded and led the World Big Data and Analytics Center of Excellence within IBM's digital consulting business, and was appointed a member of the highly selective IBM's Academy of Technology in 2015. Previously, he was a global leader in IBM strategy and analytics consulting practice, and before that, as information integrity practice leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Prior to that, Piyush received an undergrad degree in electronics and communication engineering and a master's of management technology from IIT Delhi. In the spirit of community service and give back, Piyush has served on the boards of a number of professional and non-profit organizations, including IAIDQ, TIE, American Institute of Big Data Professionals, and the American Society of Engineers of Indian Origin, where he's the founding president of their Silicon Valley chapter. I now invite Piyush to kickstart this fascinating conversation with Ruchit.
Thank you, Manu. Namaste to all. Thank you, Manu and Ruchit. Great to meet you on this show here. Mark Twain once said, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And typically, it's the entrepreneur's calling, right? So tell me a little bit about your background. Of course, you have an interesting background in terms of education, being at Microsoft, and then founding several companies, and now at your current venture. Can you share some starting moments and how did you find your calling?
Sure. Good morning, Piyush, and hi to everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Regarding the calling, I had recently, back then in 2015-ish, I had sold my previous company, a technology company based out of Redmond area. And I've seen the ups and downs of building the company, how hard it is, the blood and sweat it takes to build a company and going through the entire life cycle. And we got acquired, and all the joy and the adrenaline sort of went away after a month, because we were back to where we were, sort of, we are still the same, world is still the same. And I started thinking about, the effort it takes to build a company and the dent we wanted to make as an entrepreneur. So there wasn't a dent per se, but I did end up spending a lot of energy to build that company. Although there was a satisfaction of different sort that, as a first generation Indian coming to USA, being able to, did a wonderful job at Microsoft, start the company single-handedly and going through that cycle. I realized that, the next venture should be somewhere which can help millions of people. That was the initial seed. And I believe, maybe because my grandfather was a small farmer in Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, I started thinking about maybe can I do something in agriculture. That I think became our calling. And I started doing my research on what is this agriculture, what technology can do. And quickly I realized that is a massive area where technology can possibly help. To introduce a little bit of the scope of this work on why this is exciting and challenging, is there are about 480 million smallholder farmers across the world, which are responsible for feeding about 80% of entire planet. And they are unfortunately amongst the most underserved communities as well. So while from the impact perspective, that looked like an amazing place where I could possibly make an impact. Also from the entrepreneurship perspective, if I could make 1 rupee from each farmer, that's a lot of money to be made. So that sort of pulled me into agriculture.
Great. And, I am reminded of a book that C.K. Prahlad wrote in 2005, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. So your statements, bring that thought that you saw that opportunity, and back in 2005 when it came, it was a rage. And I remember it's still on my bookshelf here. I'm carrying it with me. This is like a Bible, because I also have dreams of entrepreneurship in that space. So it's good that you have imbibe that, and you see that there is things that you can do. But can you give an example how your recent efforts through harvesting company and the foundation, you've been able to make a difference in the life of a farmer? Maybe one story.
Sure. Let me slightly introduce what we do exactly in this massive space, and then we can talk about the impact we are making. So, what we are doing in our current avatar, we have gone through pivots and stuff like that, is we are helping farmers sell their produce. If you look closely, the farmers have three main issues: access to market, access to financial tools such as insurance and loans, and third is access to inputs, affordable and quality inputs such as seeds and water and things like that. What we are focused is on helping farmers sell the produce. And how do we do it? We have published we are using the simple methods, wherein we have published a WhatsApp number to the farmers where they just message us that, hey, I have watermelon to be sold in Chhattisgarh for 7 rupees a kilo. This is my name, this is my address. And when they send it to us, we broadcast it all over internet. So suddenly what happens, typically a farmer's market is 5, 6, 7 people in the nearby village who can buy it. But when we broadcast it, suddenly the optionality increases tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold, because now all over the India people are buying. That helps him possibly get more buyers. And when you have more buyers, more optionality in terms of getting better price realization, and so on and so forth. So in last 6 months, just to give an idea, we have listed over 500 lakh kilos, about over 1 million pound of fresh fruits and vegetable, using this simple technology of farmer sending a WhatsApp and us broadcasting on Twitter, Facebook, things like that. We were able to sell pro bono several lakh kilos, wherein, buyer saw this entry of farmer coming onto the portal or the Twitter, and they were able to make calls to the farmers. Many farmers were able to sell over 20,000 kilos of grapes in 3 days because we chatted about it. So that's just one example. There is a farmer, I believe his name is Dhananjay, near Bangalore. He sold 20,000 kilos of grapes because we tweeted about it, and the entire Bangalore came around to buy his produce. There are other smaller example, but still very satisfying, wherein one brinjal farmer, he got a weekly subscription for his brinjal from a nearby hotel. So there are numerous examples ranging from 20,000 kilos to 100 kilos a week kind of things we did.
Great story, and it points to me a couple of things which stand out. One is, A, you are getting the farmers to get the right price for their produce, and B, you're preventing the food from wastage. Because if they're not sold, either he's going to throw it away, or they'll just rot it out in the fields. So a very important point that you are serving here by optimizing the supply chain, from farmer to the consumer. This takes me to the next question, especially when I look at the agriculture sector. An economic survey for 2019, which came in January of 2020, that talked about how widespread agriculture is in India, and it is about 70% account for about 70% of the rural households, and they primarily depend on agriculture for their livelihood. And of them, 87% of those farmers are small and marginal. So your initiative is very important to those small and marginal farmers. And there are things that still bother me, because again, the same study talked about how agriculture growth has been stagnant for the last 6 years, but the population hasn't remained stagnant. The demand for food increases with population, as you know. And so we've got to make the agriculture sector more efficient by throwing in some technology, by throwing in efficient methods from the entire ecosystem, from soil to irrigation to distribution. And of course, you are solving the distribution problem here. I'm wondering if you had thought about the instances of farmer suicides, which are something which had stirred me 5 years back to look into this sector myself, and about their financial pressures. Are you doing something about that as well in any of your initiatives?
Yes. So actually, we started there when we started this company 4 years ago. So if you look deeply, if you go into the problem, I mentioned about the three issues farmer face, and the core of this problem is one single problem, that is massive information asymmetry between the farmer and anyone else in the value chain. Because there are enough food is there, enough financing ability is there, enough insurance is there. It's just that there are so much gap. So I'll give you a small example. If a banker or a bank knows that, oh, this guy who has a 2 acre farm and will be making 5 lakh rupees this year, and he has been doing this for several years, it's very easy for him or her or the bank to write a loan. However, what happens today is the information about the farm and the farmer is not flowing up to the lending organization in a very cohesive way, and that makes lender give to de-risk his lending at very high interest rate. So that's just one example. So even if you look at this, why we are successful or why we see such a good adoption is because what we are doing when we are putting out things on Twitter, we are just bridging the information gap. People always wanted to buy things, they just didn't knew who the farmer is and where he is. I mean, the way I explain it in many places, that for people living in urban areas, farmers are like a mythical character who they have seen on the TV, but they don't know who they are, where they live, and stuff like that. So when we put information out there in terms of data, stories, and emotional connect, not only we would save the food wastage at the farm, but also on the plate. Like today's generation, like a lot of people in US unfortunately believe that the chocolate milk comes from the brown cow or things like that. People don't know pineapples are grown like up and upside down, not like this, and things like that. There's a lot of disconnect, and the way I perceive is, if we can bring the data, the story of the farmer to the buyer and the consumer, we will be able to solve a lot of things in parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. You made me chuckle out there about chocolate milk. I was reminded of another story, but that's for another time. Let's continue on the theme of agriculture. And as I was alluding to earlier, agriculture is a resource-intensive occupation. It needs soil, minerals, fertilizers, and more importantly, water. And as you are aware, OVBI Water is Life mission is dedicated to the cause of water conservation, river rejuvenation, and educating not only the farmer community, but the entire agriculture ecosystem and making them aware to the grave future that water scarcity is staring us in our face. And if we don't get our act in motion, it's a game over for us in a decade or so, right? So what are your thoughts around sustainable agriculture practices and water management? And do you get into these kind of conversations with the farmers when you get in touch with them?
I mean, thoughts, yes, we need to do it. How we do it, that's we can probably touch on that. We do, get a lot of questions about it. But, the way I see it us solving is making farmers more aware of, how to manage water more. I somehow feel this is the problem created by the urban dwellers, not the farmers. They, in my mind, tribals as well as smallholder farmers are the best, uh, you know, guardians for the ecosystem. They knew how to do it. It's just that there's a imbalance in the ecosystem, environmental ecosystem, which is primarily driven by the rapid development in the cities. So that's how we see it. What we could do today, from at the farm perspective, obviously micro irrigation is very important, so that you could give the water as much as it's needed. um, the next statement might be a little controversial, but I feel there are a lot of places in India where farmers are given free subsidized water, and I feel that there are many, if not all, I mean, definitely not all, do not take care of water the way they should. Um, these are some comments at the farm level, but water has, as you could see, the water table problem, the flood problem, they're all related problems. And I feel it somewhere starts at the cities as well, because we have cemented all our, the large earth surface area, which does not let the water percolate in the ground, which causes the water table going down, and all the water getting, actually all the floods is just the function of we have cemented the large swath of area. And that causes water table to go down, that causes water to go away out in, let's say, places where we cannot catch it. So these are some very big issues. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, you're on the track. Again, since you, through harvesting, have a direct connect with the farmers,
Right.
I believe a bigger puzzle piece in solving this problem is education and
Correct.
awareness, right? So on one hand, you are making the consumers aware of the produce being available, but at the same time, while you are connecting with the farmers, you have an opportunity to educate them about the importance of water. Yes, they know if there are droughts, their farmland would go waste. And of course, if there was no insurance, they would starve. And a lot of farmers don't have insurance, right? So there are some inclusivity things that the policymakers in India have taken. And they've also talked about doubling the farmer income by 2022. That was one of Prime Minister's initiatives. So while those things take in motion at the policy level, it's the individual behaviors, like what you said, that the farmers don't take care of water. They don't regard as, they know it's important, but they're not taking into account that one day water will be gone, and then it'll be a game over for all of us. Now, so this points to the broader picture of water management in agriculture. And if I look at the water excess problem, the 54% of the farmers in India depend on rainfall, and of course, droughts cause pain to them, right? And then you talked about the groundwater being impacted. Now, it's a problem that the efficient use of water needs to be made aware to the farmers, and also as to what is the right crop to be grown. There are certain crops which are water intensive, and they consume a lot or more to produce per metric ton. So and they may or may not yield as much returns in terms of ROI. Again, here I come from the corporate world and management consulting world, so I am putting a very pragmatic view and trying to treat agriculture as a commercial venture while doing social good. And that's my definition of social entrepreneurship. So the point I'm trying to make here is that water access, water efficiency usage, and water replenishment, these are all part of the same puzzle. And through education and through policies, we can make a difference. And you being at that place where you have earned the trust of the farmers who have benefited from harvesting network, they should be able to listen to you, and perhaps you have a way to make a difference.
Correct. Absolutely. I think over the time, and that's probably I mean, looking back, it feels that, once I'm able to help sell the produce, then I have probably earned the trust to say something back to the farmer that, hey, I have helped you sell, this crop, but next time, please don't do this because it's getting harder to sell this one, or do this, and that probably will help you get better price. And if you add not just our commentary, if that commentary is data driven, I'll give you an example. In Chhattisgarh state, I know what is the price of G9 banana, probably more than the entire horticulture department there. How many kgs are there, where are the farmers, what is the produce. And what is interesting there is, and I hope we can do it in future, we can do dynamic pricing. There are farmer in the same state selling for 4 rupees a kilo to 10 rupees a kilo, and I could easily suggest the farmer, say, hey, why sell for 4 if other are able to sell at 7 or 8? I could say, hey, if you are in hurry, maybe put it at 6.57. I'm just thinking from the airline seat dynamic prices kind of thing, where if I do understand who is selling at what price, then I could actually guide the farmer on the price side and things like that. It's all related. And same goes to the water. We have one-on-one communication happening through SMS and WhatsApp to the farmers. It's super, I think, going to be very important for us and for the farmer that, with one click, I could send message to, let's say, 25 lakh farmers today and say, hey, we should probably look into this thing. So massive opportunity for us to educate farmers and hopefully change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talking about data, and data is been my domain for the last 30 years that I've been working in the industry. So when you talk about how dynamic pricing works, immediately I was thinking about, hey, Amazon does it, dynamic pricing. There's a recommendation engine. So if you are able to collect these data points and then put, I'm not even talking about advanced AI models, artificial intelligence learning, but certain basic data collection in a timely data connection and providing insights, and then having that feedback loop so that awareness and action is there. Because there's a big cost to inaction in agriculture than we realize, and it's the realization that will percolate into changing the world. All right, let's move on to a couple of other things that I did want to talk about. We earlier touched upon how the fortune at the bottom of the pyramid got me intrigued between difference between capitalism, socialism, and the realities of the needs of the poorest strata of society. Today, more and more bright folks like yourself are thinking of rural development via social entrepreneurship, but they're divergent thoughts on how economically beneficial it is for the entrepreneur themselves. Do you want to comment on it?
I think it divergent because it varies from who you speak to. Entrepreneurship hard anyways. If you go into agriculture, it's harder. I'll tell you. The reason being, agriculture is the pilot cycle. The experiment cycle is very long. A crop, you can't just code and quickly see whether it is working in like 5 minutes. You have to wait for 5 months, maybe 2 years to see what happened. And if you look at smallholder farmer agriculture is big, massive US agriculture as well, where farmers are millionaires. And then you have agriculture in Ethiopia, Nigeria, Myanmar, India, where farmers have very little. So yes, as you go from entrepreneurship to agriculture to smallholder farmers, it get pretty intense in terms of, hey, you wouldn't find result in 3 months, 6 months, but you are in there for probably 6-7 years before you see actually something happening. That's my view. Having said that, I think India is poised for a lot of disruptions in terms of new innovation coming in, thanks to cheaper phones, cheaper internet, thanks to farmer family getting a little bit more educated, things are going to change. I could feel there is a sense there that, I don't know if that's what you wanted to understand, how the ecosystem of startups, like funding and things like that, is in and around social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I don't. So I don't think a lot of people understand that space as yet. But once you start getting adoption, people or smart venture capitalists could see possibilities. Like if I talk about potential of harvesting, we may only be talking about crops, but in theory, uh, once we have a trust, we have access to very large number of wallets.
Yeah.
Right? And that could mean we could possibly drive a lot of commerce in the rural India. I'm not saying that is what we want to do. We are far away from what we do. We still want to continue to sell. There's a lot of work to be done there. But you could sort of probably put those things together and see that this. I feel that a $1 trillion company would come out of social rural work.
Awesome. Great
That's
to
where,
hear that.
yeah,
Great to hear that.
that's where the folks are.
Great. You touched upon the VCs being there or not. Again, I'm aware of some of the VCs here who have put up some bio funds and put up some things to look at it. Maybe it's in the nascent stage. In India, now that you've moved back from US to India, do you make any connections with the VCs over there, and what's the state of venture capital market in terms of the agriculture rural sector?
So India, if you compare to Silicon Valley, is obviously a little far behind from how they operate, what to do, how much they invest. Agriculture in itself globally is low compared to other sort of pure tech investment, but it's also rapidly growing. Combined with things, if you look into environment issues, climate change, agriculture, these things are all correlated, and I could see investments happening in India as well. We have Lightspeed and Sequoias and Excel. These are here, but then I know a lot of funds who specifically invest in agriculture. So I could definitely see a lot more investors, but there is a lot India can absorb.
So you talked about a $1 trillion company in the making, and do you see harvesting going IPO one day?
It's too early to comment. I mean, do I wish? Yes. Are we there? Not nowhere close. We feel there's a potential. We have to prove ourselves that it's IPO worthy. I feel we are doing good work, but as we could be all in a right thing, and then one day we woke up and something happened and we are gone. So yeah. So
Got it. Now I get it. And again, from the entrepreneurship perspective, if you see, farmers are the biggest risk takers. To me, they are the fundamental entrepreneurs who don't know what the end price of their produce would be, what the rainfall status would be throughout the year, and what kind of diseases that their crops might catch. And yet, year after year, they take loans to produce and work hard all year long. So salute to all the farmers out there, and to all the social entrepreneurs who are thinking in terms of serving those farmers, and you are one of them. And rightfully so, you've been recognized by Grand Challenge Prize and so on and so forth. So many recognitions you and your company have got. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the innovations that you are applying in terms of technology. Just as a background, I come from the world of applied data and emerging technologies. like Internet of Things, cloud, artificial intelligence, and have had personal forays myself into initiatives like farm to fork, food traceability, smart farming, cloud, smarter cities, and smarter villages programs. But more recently, I've been thinking and tinkering with using public data sets, exploring AI ML to increase the yield, better soil climate matching, and plant disease sensing, and so on and so forth. There are a number of other companies also who are doing this. Now, specifically at harvesting, what technical innovations in agriculture are you interested in either developing yourself or leveraging in the next 1 to 3 years?
Sure. So from the innovation which we have already done, or sort of, I think we have an advantage is, especially given my technology and data background, that we built a high performance computing engine which leverages remote sensing satellite data from NASA satellites, European Space Agency satellite, and processes it into some actionable insight. So if we were the first one in India to publish as a private independent entity to publish how much crop or wheat would be here this time in Punjab, for example, at the Tehsil level every 15 days. And we have never seen anything like this from coming in from a private independent entity, from and even from such a small player, compared to all very big funded government organizations and things like that. So that's one. I feel we have invested a lot on that work. I feel that could continue to improve. But I believe one major thing we are doing, and you would probably attest to it, the fundamental problem with AI and ML is the ground truth data, right? Your AI is as good as the ground truth data, and there is no one out there in the world have enough data points to actually say, hey, this is wheat and this is rice and this is brinjal and stuff like that. So the data we are collecting today, what we have done, we have built a top-down work already through the satellite. Now the work we are doing right now through network is coming bottoms-up data. And when this matches in 3 years, 4 years down the line, I believe our AI would probably be hard to compete with, because you could build an algorithm, but where would you get the data from? The ground data.
Ground truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you build. Help me understand. I'm very intrigued now. So you are creating some data sets, which obviously are private, right? For use of your company. Any collaborators or any thoughts about downstream making it open source?
We could. I mean, it's too early. I mean, a lot of data is, if you go to the portal, is already there. We publish it, but it's not something in an API format which we are letting people use because of several reasons. We had thought about it. We did publish some APIs earlier, but as a startup, we were not able to monetize it very quickly. So we sort of boxed it and then started working, because we know how to write algorithms, and we started working on building this ground data collection system while providing valuable some USP to some value to the farmers. And one day we just need to just open that, and then it will happen.
Yeah, and again, we all know that more the data, the more valuable AI becomes. And also, while we are collecting more data, it doesn't mean garbage data. So I have to put my quality hat as well and say, are we collecting the right data? Is there noise in the system? Is the system able to detect relevant data versus non-relevant data? And again, you are able to create those ML models which highlight the right features, and then are the right features being tuned properly. So obviously that's going too technical, and maybe you and I can have a sidebar conversation after this.
Sure.
But for the audience here who's more interested in seeing how you are having an impact, and especially to bring the interest of OVBI to bring India from water poverty to water plenty by 2030. let's talk a little bit more about how social entrepreneurship can help in achieving this goal, besides what you are currently doing, and some grand vision kind of things, if you can.
As you said, water is a massive problem. I could see, startups only working on water. There could be companies who are responsible for. I feel if done correctly, you could build the bawdis. I forgot what's the English name of it. The staircased well, and that was there for a reason. And the kind of work OVBI and team is doing of water rejuvenation and building the river and things like that, it is happening from the volunteer level, right? But then if you find a commercial angle to it, suddenly you may be sitting at 10, 20, $50 million worth of capital from the VCs if you explain the narrative and the business model around it. Bisleri and other folks are minting money, right? So you could have a model around it, and I feel it's ready for disruption, wherein you can not only provide water to the farmland in a very profitable way. Yeah, that's my comment. I don't have a specific idea to give away right now, but if I will, I'll tweet about it.
and they say that in Silicon Valley, people are predictive about their ideas. And then there's another thought that ideas are a dime a dozen. It's the execution that counts. And you very well know entrepreneurship is hard.
I'm on the other camp. Like I'll tell you exactly how harvesting works. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm not sure if there are any audience questions, but hopefully they will come in. Let's continue talking about art of the possible in the agriculture industry. Now, agriculture industry has rapidly, if I take the global view, not only India, radically transformed over the past 50 years. There have been advances in machinery, which have expanded the scale, the speed, the productivity of the farm equipment, leading to more efficient cultivation of more land. There have been innovations in seed, irrigation, fertilizers have also improved, and yields per acre have gone up. And this may not translate directly to all parts of India or all parts of the world, but at least in the US, that's what's there. But again, as more and more technologists are getting involved, and you're very well aware, EdTech is the term that we use with artificial intelligence, connected sensors, drones, doing surveillance, and I think you also have some use of these kind of emerging technologies. If you can shed a little bit more on how they are building sustainability and resilience across cultivation, and maybe even if you have thought about going to animal husbandry beyond the current scope of the work. If you just have those kind of ideas shared.
Yeah. So I want to comment on some few things. I think we should stop focusing on increasing crop yield. We have enough food already. What we should focus as a community, as a combined conscious, that there's a lot of food wastage which is happening for several reasons. There's already a lot of crop out there, but farmers are, if you think from the farmer's angle, there are a lot of stakeholders, right? If you think from the farmer's angle, if we just help him get the better price, that's it. We don't want him to be, so one of the problems you will see is, grow organic. We have, a lot of money spent on organic and things like that. But then there's no market for it. If you go, you have a carrot which is organic. If you have carrot which is big and bold and not organic, that non-organic one fetches more money than the organic one, and the typical mandi, does not recognize the nutrition aspect of it, things like that, right? So we need to stop. I feel there are a couple of points I want to say. we need to stop thinking about, crop yield increase, but we should think about, how we can get farmer more money for what he has. We should stop doing monocultures, that is growing large swath of area with single crop. We have all studied in, our social studies, at least in India, that you need to have multiple crops and stuff like that. And by commercializing the crops, what we have done essentially made that piece of land very unsustainable. You may see it's being very, short term greedy, I believe. We should all focus on the long term greed, wherein, when you have multiple crops, that's where you can get more nutritious fruit and more self growing plants as well. There are a lot of work and study which has been done, wherein you don't need as much water, you don't need as much pesticides, you don't need as much fertilizers if you have multiple crops in one place, versus, hey, I have 100 hectares of corn, and that actually, reason you put more and more fertilizer there is because the original nutrition of the soil is gone. And mechanization is also to some extent culprit there. You till the land, when you start keep till the land, all the nutritious layer or the is gone, and then that is all leading towards a very desert like environment to all the, large agriculture states in US and other parts of the world.
All right. This is a bit different from what I was thinking, that perhaps we have to continue to do both, increasing the yield as well as have these sustainable practices there. But of course, from a distribution and demand supply perspective, if there's too much of supply of food, the prices drop, and then
There is already a lot of food getting wasted. Billions of kilos every year harvested from the farm, sitting in a storage. They're all rotting.
yeah.
Unfortunately, when we have 800 million small folks who sleep hungry every night, that shouldn't be the case. So, we should focus on the supply chain and distribution of the stuff than actually just increasing the yield, because that doesn't help. You have to have a better pipe to transfer the, stuff from one end to other end. There's no point just keep growing the one side and you have a tiny little pipe to transfer it.
Great, great. Let's see if there are any audience questions, and if we can get Manu on. Hey, Manu.
Hey, Piyush and Ruchita, it's wonderful conversation, wonderful conversation. So there was one question, when you're just talking about spoilage, right? That's interesting. Is there, I guess there must be opportunity for cold storage, right? The idea that how do you actually get some of these things processed maybe closer to the farm so that they can then get used up so that it doesn't get wasted, right? So maybe a related question to that also is, uh, you know, is the work that you do mainly in the fruits and vegetable side of it, or do you also do that for the staples like rice and wheat and some of those other ones, which
So I'll take
maybe does not spoil as quickly? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So first question, cold storage, yes, needed. There are some very interesting startups wherein, for 3-4 lakhs, 5 lakh rupees, you can build a small container, put it in the farm, make it solar powered. There's nothing exciting about it there yet, but when you start tracking what is going inside, what is coming outside, then you have an inventory which you can possibly sell and
Yeah.
things like that. There's a good business model around it. So yes, we need it. Yes, there's a lot of innovation pending there, and a lot of money to be made there as well. That's part one. Part two was on whether we deal with grains. So our system allows any farmer to list anything they want. All you need to just do is WhatsApp on a number, and you can list grains and whatever. The problem we were able to solve is because it was more painful for the perishable goods, because if it is not sold today or tomorrow, then it will go away. But the problem of market happens to all the farmers, whether they are into grains or almonds or all sort of things.
Wonderful. So the other thing, one of the other things that OVBI kind of looks at quite a bit is, we call it in Lakpati farmers, right? How do you just as you talk about, how do you give them more? And one of the reasons why they tell us that they do monoculture is because they don't have enough water for multiple crops per year, right? So when they have more water, then they can plant multiple crops per year so that they can get more, right? Is that also something that you see as a hindrance, like the lack of water causing people to then move into saying, okay, there's this one crop that I can do. I don't want to take that much risk in order to do that.
So I think the problem, which they're all interrelated problem, and there's no one answer there. Yes, farmers move from one practice to other depending on how soil and market is behaving. Having said that, traditionally the farmers, the ones in the remote areas, they have been working very intuitionally versus data driven. So what the problem with that approach is, whatever has worked for their forefathers no longer work now because climate has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And when that happens, no longer the seasons are same, no longer the germination happens the same and stuff like that. And that is the bigger problem in my mind.
So does that kind of lead to a little bit of more education that has to be done, right? So the thing that you talk about, the monoculture area, the fact that that people till the crops to land. When Professor Ratanlal ji came and spoke, he talked about that you shouldn't till the land, and when you when you let's say do corn, you just make sure that all the corn leaves are just put on the land so that they just become, like he talked about it being a bank, right? So
Right.
all these things require education. And do you think that we are doing a better job in educating people, or do people still rely on what has worked before, or what is it that we could do?
I somehow feel, so again, it's little convoluted. You may not be expecting this answer, but before farmers, we were hunter gatherers.
Yeah.
They were the people who were most sustainable. From there, 30,000 years ago, we started farming, and then we became, we expected a lot more. I think we need to start going back to becoming hunter gatherer, wherein we use the stuff just for us.
Yeah.
And if you disturb, let's say if you had to cut a plant, you have to put the plant back right there, so that you have it for your coming generation. I mean, it's too idealistic, but if you think in that direction, that will give you the right pointers of what is wrong with what we are doing right now. Whether it is growing corn, or whether you are fishing, and whether it's poultry, it's about that change in how we think and how we behave from hunter gatherer to very farmer centric society.
No, very true, very true. This is so fascinating. I don't know if there are any other questions, so I think we'll conclude. If you have any summarizing comments, Ruchit and Piyush, that would be great. If you can talk about what you are doing and what you aspire the results to, what your aspirations are from a results perspective.
From my perspective, I think I left Silicon Valley a year ago, and it's pretty fascinating. I feel very satisfied. I feel a lot more people should follow their heart and just get out of that mirage. And there's a lot of it's more satisfying, at least for me, and not just emotionally, but I feel there's financially it will be very rewarding as well in coming times. With Corona and other things, people have started realizing TV is not important, they need food and stuff like that. So folks have actually came to back to basics, but let's see how it goes. I mean, I definitely feel people should look at agriculture as a serious business opportunity. And yeah.
So it seems like you followed your heart, and as a social entrepreneur, you are happier back in India than you were in Silicon Valley.
Definitely. I mean, it's very exciting. Yeah.
And just curious, how has your family adopted to you being more associated with farmers and social entrepreneurship rather than the commercial software building. You work with Xbox, the games, the Microsoft products, and now you're talking about building and dealing. I think you deal with farmers on a daily basis.
Correct. So financially, obviously, it's hard initially, at least for first few years. But I do hope that they would start see the fruits of the seed I am putting now, and I think the family do really appreciate that. A lot of people are getting, farmers especially, are getting connected and getting help. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard anyways. Entrepreneurship hard. Financially, yes, it does impact a lot for initial years, no matter what business you start. But we are pretty content with where we are, and we think, yeah, there's a lot of bright future ahead of us.
Wonderful,
It's
wonderful.
definitely very inspiring, and I'm sure you'll inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs and youngsters who are watching this, and they would foray into ag tech and social entrepreneurship just listening to you. And your accomplishments compliment you again on that. Congratulations and all the best for your future rise. And let's stay connected. And I'm sure we can do a lot of big things together. So over to you, Manu, to close this.
Thank you, Ruchit, and thank you, Piyush, for a wonderful conversation. Ruchit, again, it's wonderful to hear everything that you're doing and the results that you're getting out in the field today. To our viewers, we hope this session has been as insightful for you as it is for us. The OVBI Water team will continue to bring these conversations with experts, entrepreneurs, our partners, and on-the-ground execution leaders. We will have more of these insightful sessions every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific time till the end of the year. You can see the lineup of topics and speakers by visiting us at eliminatingwaterpoverty.org/live series. Many experts, right, especially on water, we believe that we have less than a decade to address this challenge in India. So we need all the help we can get. We would love for each one of you to participate in whatever way you can. Please pass on this information, share this information about this live series to educate others, volunteer with us, or donate in whatever capacity you can so that we can continue this work of eliminating water poverty. About $1,500 can provide water security for an entire village for their lifetime, for about 2,000 people, right? Imagine that. So collection of small drops is what creates an ocean, and any contribution from you will help us in eliminating water poverty for India. Please visit us at our website at eliminatingwaterpoverty.org to find out more, how you can participate, how you can donate. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time at the same time with a new leader who's trying to solve what the defining challenges of our times. Thank you again. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.